Hello and welcome to Scout Report, where today we're looking at 5 underreported and overlooked transfers from this summer, which can have the potential to be game changers. 5. Merih Demiral to Juventus. For years it felt like Juventus only trusted peak-age Italian defenders, but the Bianconeri broke that habit in spectacular style this summer to bringing 3 centre-backs between the ages of 19 and 21. Dutchman Matthijs de Ligt, Argentinian Christian Romero, and Turkish defender Merih Demiral. Though the oldest of the trio, Demiral is the least experienced, having only arrived in Italy in January, but he impressed sufficiently in 14 appearances for Sassuolo to entice the old lady into spending 18 million euros for his services. Capable of deputising at right back, Demiral is an enormous physical presence at 6'3", and he isn't scared of using his strength. In his half season, he was one of the most aggressive defenders in the division, ranking 5th for fouls per 90 minutes with 1.9. But that aggression also made him almost impossible to get past, with 89% of his tackles seeing him walk away with the ball, an obscene number for a player who turned 21 in March, and indicating solid game reading as well as enthusiasm for the dark arts. He also stands out among youngsters for his fully developed aerial ability. While strength and timing tend to grow with experience, seeing players win at a high percentage of duels as they reach their peak, Demiral seems to have skipped this stage entirely and is already racking up a 73% success rate in the air, the same as Virgil van Dijk managed across his spectacular Player of the Season Premier League campaign. Those statistics should be transferable to a bigger side, but you'd expect a drop-off in other metrics. Demiral currently completes 5.6 clearances a game, 7th best in Serie A, and indicating the pressure Sassuolo's rearguard faced as they finished 11th with the 5th worst defensive record in Serie A. The country's best team, meanwhile, are unlikely to require that ability, especially with Sarri ball usually pushing possession into the stratosphere. Chiellini made the most clearances in the squad last year, but still ranked 38th among Serie A defenders, and it remains to be seen whether Demiral is as impressive when his side isn't on the back foot. And there are real questions over his distribution. 87% pass accuracy looks solid, but Demiral's 40% completion of long passes suggests that he mostly plays it safe, meaning that de Ligt and Bonucci will retain the bulk of responsibility for ball progression out of the back. In the worst case scenario, Sarri could bench the former Alanyaspor man entirely, if he feels that Demiral would disrupt his possession game. However, there is more than enough to suggest that Juve have a good prospect on their hands, and Demiral is the sort of rugged defender who might make the ideal heir to Chiellini, a warrior who can shut down even the most physically imposing attackers. With Italy's most storied club beginning a new chapter this summer, Demiral has an opportunity to write himself a key role. 4. Patrick Cutrone to Wolves. As smart as Milan's pursuit of Rafael Leao was, it saw the Rossoneri have to make an uncomfortable decision, axing Patrick Cutrone in favour of the Portuguese. Cutrone, who joined Milan as a 9-year-old and burst into the first team 10 years later, has scored a goal every 3 matches for the club, and in the 2017-18 campaign finished as their top scorer in the league and in all competitions. That year, Cutrone had truly exceptional stats, not just for a youngster, but for anyone. He took 2.7 shots per game, a respectable number, but had excellent shot quality, with each attempt having a 20% chance of going in, around twice as good as the average player. His expected goals and assists per 90 was 0.58, which, if recorded in the Premier League last season, would have ranked him alongside Alexandre Lacazette and Heung-min Son. But most importantly, he had done that at the age of 20, and in a team which had the 9th best attack in Serie A, suggesting that he had superstar potential in the right side and under the right coach. 2018-19 was not as successful, with Cutrone's expected goals dropping to 0.32 per 90 minutes, but he developed as a creator, with key passes rising from 0.8 a match to 1.3, and that could see him fit in well at Wolves. Under Nuno Espirito Santo, the Midlands outfit rarely committed bodies forward, instead protecting their defence by keeping João Moutinho and Ruben Neves deep and relying on Jimenez and Jota to attack as a pair. Fortunately, the Mexican and the Portuguese excelled, getting involved in 20 and 14 goals respectively, and contributing 42% of Wolves' shots per game. Jota in particular was amazing at 22 years old, leading the team in completed dribbles and, despite often facing a huge amount of traffic, still managing to take 84% of his shots from inside the box. With 0.3 take-ons a game, Cutrone is unlikely to do the same, but his strong decision-making and 6-foot frame should give Espirito Santo some extra muscle in the final third, and secure the club's long-term future through the middle, with Jimenez already 28. Add to that the paltry €18 million fee, and you have yet another transfer coup for one of England's most exciting clubs. 3. Marcos Llorente to Atletico Madrid. It's hard to say a €40 million transfer went under the radar, but Atletico Madrid's swoop for Real Academy graduate Marcos Llorente has gone largely unreported. The midfielder, who turned 24 mid-season, is remarkably inexperienced for his age, having made just 54 top-flight appearances, under half the number of Marcus Rashford, who is almost 3 years younger. Though Llorente has been with Real since he was 13, 2/3 of those Liga games came during a year-long loan at Alaves in 2016-17, with under 1,100 minutes on the field in the past 2 campaigns at the Bernabeu. But when he gets onto the field, Llorente is extremely impressive, and might even have been a good alternative to Casemiro, possessing the Brazilian's defensive awareness, but with more developed distribution. That may seem like a bold statement, but at Alaves, Llorente put up nearly 7 tackles and interceptions a game, the same number as Idrissa Gueye, the Premier League's best holding player, and way ahead of Casemiro's 4.9. On returning to the Bernabeu, that unsurprisingly fell, as Llorente moved from a 46% possession team to one with 58% of the ball, but he still completed around 5 defensive actions per 90 in Madrid, a tally which puts him ahead of Rodri, the man he has been brought in to replace. Like Rodri, Llorente is press resistant, with his single dribble per match underselling his skill at protecting the ball. He has been dispossessed less than once per appearance across his entire career in La Liga, a strong record for a youngster, and is a brilliant passer, averaging 93% accuracy overall. Amazingly, that barely drops when he attempts more expansive distribution too, with an enormous 7 long balls a game and an 89% accuracy on those passes alone. Better than everyone bar Rodri and the Atletico squad managed on all of their passes, short and long, last year. There are only 2 downsides. That fee, which is certainly on the high side for a man with so little football in his legs over the last 24 months, and Simeone's preferred formation, which sees Atleti line up in a 4-4-2. Not ideal for Llorente, who prefers to sit deep with runners in front of him. However, the midfielder is extremely talented, yet to hit his peak, and has a point to prove. What better place to do it than across the town from the club which never gave him a shot? 2. Nico Schulz to Borussia Dortmund. With Achraf Hakimi remaining at Dortmund for the 2019-20 season, it may seem strange that the German club have invested €25 million in a left-back. But Hakimi is primarily a right-back, and as brilliant as Lukas Piszczek was in that position for BVB last year, the Pole is now 34, and unlikely to have another spectacular campaign in the league rammed full of new playing and managerial talent. So Hoffenheim's Nico Schulz will go straight in the first team on the left, and the German's arrival, along with that of Mats Hummels, is a clear sign that Dortmund see an opportunity to sneak a league title, with Bayern still scrambling to rebuild their attack. At 26, Schulz doesn't have much upside, meaning scope for developing into something more than he currently is, but he profiles like an excellent attacking fullback. Under Julian Nagelsmann, Schulz was the second most prolific creator, racking up 2.2 key passes per match, behind only Karim Demirbay in the Hoffenheim ranks. That eye for the final ball brought him just 5 assists, but that was the fault of the strikers, not the provider, as according to expected goals, only Joshua Kimmich created better chances than Schulz in the Bundesliga, with understats suggesting that he should have actually had around 11 assists in league play. And while many fullbacks boost their creative numbers by taking set pieces, Schulz didn't, with all his key passes coming from open play. When faced with an opponent, he is capable of finding space for himself too, completing 1.8 dribbles per 90, the second best by a fullback in the Bundesliga, though his 50% success rate suggests that he might occasionally be better off looking for a pass instead. The downside is in defence. While his attacking role under Nagelsmann may have juiced Schulz's offensive output, it meant that he put in relatively little work at the back, with just 2 tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes. By comparison, Hakimi, who's also more comfortable on the front foot than the back, won possession 3.3 times. So either Schulz needs to up his defensive game, or Dortmund will need to find a way to protect him, a task made much harder by the departure of Abdou Diallo, who's outstanding in a hybrid role covering the left centre-half slot and the flank. Still, Dortmund were fortunate to net 81 goals last year, with XG putting them closer to 65, the 4th best in the league. So bringing in a stellar creator on the left is a smart move. If BVB's new signings hit the ground running and Bayern fail to upgrade their wide options, perhaps a shock could be on the cards. 1. Gianluca Mancini to Roma. With Kostas Manolas making his way to Napoli for €36 million, the fourth biggest sale in Roma's history, the Giallorossi had a gap to fill in the back line and turned their attentions to Atalanta centre-back Gianluca Mancini. The Italian arrives on a €2 million loan deal, which will be made permanent for €21 million next year, and in the process weakens a rival side which finished 3 points and 3 places clear of the capital club last season. Only 6 Atalanta players got more minutes than the 23-year-old Mancini in 2018-19, and the youngster's strong showing earned him a call-up to the national side, bringing him his first 2 caps in the second half of the campaign. With Mancini in the backline, Atalanta had the league's 5th best defence by expected goals, and he was solid in the tackle, winning 75% of his challenges and ranking 3rd in the side for interceptions, overall regaining possession for his team 3.6 times per match, as they reached the Champions League for the first time. The 6'4" centre-back is not quite as dominant with his head as you'd expect, with 62% success in his aerial duels, but incredibly, he's better in the opposition's penalty box than in his own. He takes an astonishing 1.6 shots per game, the most of any central defender in Europe's top 5 leagues, and unsurprisingly, 3/4 of those come from set pieces. As a consequence, he netted 5 league goals in 2018-19, a tally only bettered by Sergio Ramos in his position, and he added a pair of assists too, meaning only 4 Roma players were involved in more goals last season. However, in possession there is room for improvement. With around 53 passes per game, Mancini gets on the ball more than Manolas did at the Stadio Olimpico, but is less reliable when going long. Manolas put up an 88% pass accuracy to Mancini's 83%, and on long balls he found the target with 63% of his attempts, compared to 43% for the younger man. But despite the reservations, Mancini is a good centre-back from a good team, and is still young for his position, helping Roma, a side reliant on Manolas, Kolarov and Dzeko over the last few seasons, begin the process of building a new and youthful XI under Paulo Fonseca. In a summer where Tyrone Mings and Harry Maguire are moving for huge fees, Mancini looks a smart acquisition at a reasonable price. So those are our 5 transfers that we think have gone under the radar, but what do you guys think? Have we missed out on anyone else's move? Please let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and check the video on screen right now for more EFD. And as always guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.